Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'll be going over the Sora V2. So this is Ninjutso's new offering for this year, and I must say this mouse is actually quite surprising. So this mouse comes in at 39 to 40 grams. I'll throw up a picture right now of what it comes into on my scale, but this mouse has no holes and is completely solid all around, and it still ends up weighing this low. So this is probably the most impressive thing about the Sora V2 is the weight and how there's no holes. And I have the Sora 4K here for comparison. So in this top-down angle, you can see pretty much the changes between these two mouse, and the most visible change is probably the size. So the size is actually a little bit smaller than the original Sora, and as well as the mouse 1 and mouse 2 here. There's comfort grooves on the new one, and there are no comfort grooves on the old one. And also the hump is a little bit more towards the back now, versus I guess it's still kind of towards the back, but the hump on the original Sora is more sharp versus this one's more rounded off. You could definitely feel that in hand when you're trying to claw grip the mouse, which is my preferred grip style. But other than that, these two mouses are actually still quite similar. They're both the V2 is still just as solid as the original one. No creaking or flexing anywhere. The only minor difference that I found is that for my copy here specifically, there is some switch wobbling in the front here. You can't really feel it when you're in game, but it's definitely something I feel like is worth mentioning. As you can see in my old Sora, there's less wobbling. It looks like there's more, about the same, but it's actually less than the new one. And it's not too big a deal. As I said, in game you don't really feel it, but yeah, it's something that I feel like you could fix in the future batches. And this V2 is still using Armor Opticals, still the same as the original Sora. I mean only on the Sora 4K, I guess, but the clicks are extremely light, easy to actuate, easily spammable. So they feel exactly the same as Sora 4K if you ever try that. So the switch implementation is really good. Nothing to complain about that. Same for the scroll wheel. It feels exactly the same as a Sora 4K. It even feels the same as the original Sora probably. They feel, same actuation force, same scrolling. Feels exactly the same. A slight difference is going to be actually the side buttons. So the side buttons on the original Sora and the 4K are glossy, but in this V2 version, they actually finally made a matte finish, which I definitely prefer over the glossy finish. It just feels a lot better in your hands when you're using it in game, browsing, or whatever. Yeah, it definitely feels a lot better. They also added a small logo in the front here, which I think is a nice touch. But other than that, if the feeling of the side buttons are still the same, there's not much post or pre-travel in these buttons, but the matte finish is definitely really good. Another difference is probably the logo here. So it's a painted silver in the original one, on the black one at least. And then the new one now is a kind of glossier black logo, which I think is more sleek than the silver logo here. Those obviously don't affect in-game performance, but it's a nice little touch-up. So another big change is obviously, like before, is the size. So in hand, the V2 for me personally feels a lot better. It feels, since it's smaller, it fits in my hand a lot more. I'm able to switch between different grip styles, and overall it feels pretty good in the hand for a claw and even fingertip grip. The original one is slightly longer and bigger, and you still fingertip and claw grip now perfectly fine. I've been using this mouse quite a bit, and it's fine, but the V2 shape I think is just a bit better. Unless your hand's actually a bit larger, on the larger side, the 4K might be better since it's slightly bigger. But if your hands are small and medium, I think the V2 is the better shape. And yeah, I think just the changes that the Ninjutso made are actually pretty good in here. The more rounded off hump, it slightly touches off the back of my palm, gives that nice support when you're claw gripping it, and it feels really good when you're trying to switch between grips in game. Also adjust your aim in certain games like Apex, where you're moving really fast and trying to switch. I think the V2 is better for hand maneuver. And the comfort group, as mentioned before, is a nice touch. Not too big of a deal, personally for me. In the beginning, I thought I like it like a lot, but after using it, it's not that too big. I could probably use the original buttons, no problem. But comfort groups are a slight, quality of life improvement. But the major changes are obviously the size and the slight changes in the shape. But at the bottom of the mouse here, as you can see, there's also no more DPI button. So for someone that switches between different types of DPI all the time, you can't anymore. So you have to go into the software, which I'll talk about later in the video. But yeah, so you can't really adjust DPI on the fly anymore, and you can only do it on the software. Versus the original Sora and the 4K, you have the DPI button here, so you can easily swap between those. But personally for me, I only use 800, so it's not too big of a deal for me. And also they finally removed the USB dongle cover, which makes sense because both these dongles are the same now. They're both that long rectangle dongle that the 4K uses. And that pretty much leads me to about the dongle. So the dongle is despite them looking the same visually, for some reason the V2 is only locked with 1K versus the 4K here. I mean, obviously it has access to 4K, but the dongles are visually the same. So I think actually that maybe Ninjutso purposely locked the dongle, and they're trying to force you to pay $20 for the 4K dongle wireless performance. But I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, and dongle actually not capable of 1K, just looks like the 4K dongle. But visually, both the dongles actually look the same. So I think that's probably the most weird / disappointing part of the mouse, because Ninjutso did advertise this as an 8K ultra lightweight mouse at $100, but you really don't get that performance unless you pay for the dongle, which I'm pretty sure is gonna be $20. And then on top of that will be a $120 mouse, which pretty much compares to the other 4K 8K wireless mouse on the market. But if you just pay for the 1K version only with no dongle, I think it's still a solid pickup because it's such a lightweight mouse. So this is probably one of the most impressive things about the mouse is the weight. Coming in at only 39 to 40 grams and no hole is really impressive, because I have the Finalmouse right here. As you can see, this mouse is full of holes, and the weight is pretty much about the same. The Finalmouse does feel slightly lighter in the hands, but it's nothing too drastic between these two. And the Ninjutso has no holes, which I think actually feels better in your hand. Versus this, you actually definitely feel the holes when you're gripping on the side, maybe even on top here. And the quality of the Sora, for me, is actually also a lot better than the Finalmouse. Why quality of the Finalmouse has switch. Okay, so the switch grinding for the Finalmouse. Yeah, so my Finalmouse copy has slight switch grinding. My Sora V2 doesn't, and overall the quality is a lot better. Scroll wheel feels a lot better than the Finalmouse. My Finalmouse scroll wheel feels pretty shit, not gonna lie. It feels pretty cheap. And overall, I feel like the V2 is probably the better pickup for majority of the people, unless you really want the top of the performance that the Finalmouse offers. I don't have exact measurements, but I'm pretty sure the Finalmouse still measures better. But the V2, they both feel the same in games. There's no difference between these mouse in games, in my personal opinion. So I think the V2 is better, unless you really like the Finalmouse shape. But I feel like the Finalmouse shape is nothing too special. But if you really like it, then obviously just go pick that one up instead. But if you're able to easily use both of these shapes, the V2 is probably better for majority of the people. The side buttons are also better. I mean, the Finalmouse is not a complete shit mouse, but the quality is definitely worse than the V2, and the weight is about the same. So yeah, it's not really too big a reason for me to recommend the Finalmouse over the V2, unless you, like I mentioned before, you only like the Finalmouse shape. So I feel like the overall Ninjutso made a lot of great changes on this version of the mouse. They made the mouse smaller, the hump is better now, the shape. Yeah, I think overall the mouse is actually a lot better. The weight is better. I know the original Sora wasn't heavy, but it's good to see Ninjutso cutting down the weight to even lighter, and it's still solid for all around. You know what I'm saying? They didn't cut down any corners, didn't make the mouse feel any more cheap or anything. The mouse feels pretty much as solid as the original Sora. I guess there is one slight change I need to talk about, which is the coding. I didn't talk about in the video, but yeah, the coding, even though it feels the same, like initially I took it out of the box, the coding feels exactly the same as the original Sora, but for some reason I feel like this one attracts more fingerprints. I could be wrong, it's actually the same coding. I'm just making this up here, but for some reason I just feel like I'm seeing more fingerprints, especially on the black version I have right here than the original black version of the Sora. So if you're someone that doesn't like fingerprints, probably just go pick up the white one. I'm pretty sure you can see less fingerprints on that one versus the black here. You know, that's just slight changes, I guess, even if it isn't real, but you know, that's my personal experience. Also, oh yeah, one more thing about the sensor. Just a slight, not really an issue, but when you initially wake up the mouse from like sleeping, right? It starts off at like a 400 DPI. I feel like because it's really slow initially when you wake up the mouse after you don't use it for a couple of minutes, but after moving it for like about like 5 to 10 seconds, it does go back up to 800 or whatever DPI you set it at. But you know that's something I think is worth mentioning because I'm not sure how Ninjutso is calibrating the sensor. But overall, yeah, this mouse is really good. It's extremely lightweight, and it's definitely one of my top 5 mice I'm using. The original Sora and the Sora 4K were like one of my favorite mice personally. So this is even better than those. So of course it's gonna take over those two and yeah, be part of my top 5, and it'll be part of my main rotation. And this is a mouse I'll definitely be using a lot and putting a lot of time into. And yeah, subscribe to the channel for more videos.